The year was 1631. The Mughal Empire stood at the peak of its power. Gold filled the royal, armies stretched across the land, and every city echoed with the name of one ruler, Shah Jahan. But inside the royal palace, silence had taken over. Because the emperor had just lost the love of his life. Mumtaz Mahal died while giving birth to their 14th child. The woman who once traveled beside the emperor during wars, the woman who advised him in secret meetings, was suddenly gone forever. History books say Shah Jahan cried for days. Some legends even claim his hair turned white overnight. And then, he made a promise. A promise so massive, it would change history forever. "I will build a monument," he whispered, "that the world will never forget." But what most people don't know is that the construction of the Taj Mahal was surrounded by secrets, fear, sacrifice, and hidden truths buried beneath white marble. At first, people thought it was impossible. How could anyone create a structure so perfect that centuries later, people would still call it one of the wonders of the world? But Shah Jahan didn't care about impossible. He gathered architects from Persia, craftsmen from Central Asia, calligraphers from Arabia, and stone workers from every corner of the empire. Thousands of laborers arrived in Agra. Some came willingly. Others had no choice. And that's where the hidden truth begins. Because behind the beauty of the Taj Mahal stood years of suffering no tourist ever sees. Massive stones were dragged across miles of land by elephants. Workers spent entire days under burning heat. Some climbed dangerous bamboo structures hundreds of feet high with no protection. One mistake meant death. Yet construction never stopped. Not for rain. Not for sickness. Not even for accidents. The emperor wanted perfection. And perfection demanded sacrifice. According to old stories, entire villages were transformed into worker camps. Families lived beside construction sites for years. Children grew up watching the marble walls rise slowly toward the sky. At night, the sound of chisels echoed like whispers in darkness. Some workers believed the monument was cursed. Because strange accidents kept happening. A stone block falling without warning. Scaffolding collapsing suddenly. Workers disappearing mysteriously. Whether these stories are true or not, nobody knows. But fear spread quickly. Still, nobody dared question the emperor. Because Shah Jahan's grief had become obsession. The marble used for the Taj Mahal came from faraway mines in Rajasthan. Precious stones arrived from Tibet, Sri Lanka, Persia, and even distant lands beyond the empire. Imagine the scale of this project. Hundreds of elephants. Thousands of workers. Years of non-stop labor. All for one tomb. But then came the darkest rumor of all. A rumor so disturbing, historians still debate it today. People whispered that after the Taj Mahal was completed, Shah Jahan ordered the hands of craftsmen to be cut off so they could never build anything similar again. Was it true? Nobody can prove it completely. Some historians reject the story. Others believe it may have been exaggerated over time. But the rumor survived for centuries because people believed one thing. The emperor wanted the Taj Mahal to remain unmatched forever. And honestly, it did. Even today, millions stand speechless before its beauty. But very few think about the cost behind that beauty. The sleepless nights. The broken bodies. The endless pressure to create perfection. The Taj Mahal was not built in a year. It took more than 2 decades. 20 years of carving marble by hand. 20 years of lifting stones without machines. 20 years of human effort beyond imagination. And while the monument rose higher and higher, the empire itself slowly began to weaken. Money poured endlessly into construction. Some advisors secretly worried the emperor was spending too much. But nobody dared stop him. Because this was no longer just a building. It had become Shah Jahan's legacy. A symbol of love. A symbol of grief. And maybe, a symbol of madness. There's another hidden detail many visitors never notice. The 4 minarets surrounding the Taj Mahal are slightly tilted outward. Why? Because if an earthquake ever struck, they would fall away from the main tomb instead of crashing into it. Think about that level of planning. 400 years ago, without modern technology, engineers created a masterpiece still standing today. That's why the Taj Mahal continues to shock historians and architects around the world. But the deeper you look into its construction, the darker the story becomes. Workers spent decades building a dream that many of them would never even enjoy. Some died before completion. Others disappeared from history completely. Their names forgotten. Only the emperor's name survived. And maybe that is the greatest hidden truth of all. History remembers kings. But monuments are built by ordinary people. People whose sweat became part of the walls themselves. And as the final marble dome began taking shape under the sunlight, nobody knew the story of the Taj Mahal was far from over. Because soon, betrayal would enter the royal family. And the emperor who built the world's greatest monument would become a prisoner in his own empire. But before we continue, if this story is pulling you deeper into history's hidden mysteries, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because the next chapter reveals the shocking fate of Shah Jahan himself. And the secret ending behind the Taj Mahal that most people never hear about. The story was only beginning, and the darkest chapter. By the time the Taj Mahal neared completion, the Mughal Empire looked powerful from the outside. But inside the royal palace, cracks had already begun to spread. Shah Jahan had spent years focused on one thing only, the monument for Mumtaz Mahal. And while the emperor obsessed over marble and perfection, his own sons were preparing for war. Among them stood one man unlike the others. Cold. Calculating. Patient. Aurangzeb. He watched carefully as the empire weakened under massive spending and political tension. He knew something important. A grieving emperor could become a vulnerable emperor. Then came the moment that changed everything. Shah Jahan fell seriously ill. Suddenly, rumors exploded across the empire. The emperor is dying. His sons immediately turned against one another in a brutal battle for the throne. Brothers betrayed brothers. Armies marched across the empire. Blood-filled battlefields once protected by Mughal power. And in the middle of all this chaos, the Taj Mahal stood silently beside the Yamuna River. Beautiful. Untouched. Almost like history itself was watching. Aurangzeb eventually emerged victorious. But victory wasn't enough. He feared that if Shah Jahan recovered, the empire might support the old emperor once again. So he made a ruthless decision. He imprisoned his own father. The man who built the Taj Mahal became a prisoner. Imagine the irony. An emperor who once commanded thousands, now trapped inside a fort under guard, Shah Jahan spent the final years of his life imprisoned inside Agra fort. And according to famous stories, there was only one comfort left to him. From a small window in the fort, he could still see the Taj Mahal in the distance. The monument built for love became the last thing he stared at every single day. That image alone feels almost unbelievable. The creator separated from his masterpiece. A king turned into a lonely old man. Some legends say he spent hours silently gazing at the white marble shining under moonlight. Maybe remembering Mumtaz. Maybe regretting everything. Nobody truly knows what went through his mind during those final years. But history records one heartbreaking truth. He never ruled again. Eventually, Shah Jahan died in captivity in 1666. And after death, he was buried beside Mumtaz Mahal inside the Taj Mahal itself. Together at last. But the hidden truths surrounding the monument did not end there. Over centuries, many strange stories emerged about hidden chambers beneath the Taj Mahal. Sealed doors. Underground rooms. Forgotten tunnels. Even today, some areas remain closed to the public, fueling endless mystery theories online. Some people believe hidden treasures were buried there. Others claim secret documents once existed beneath the structure. There are even wild theories suggesting parts of the monument may have existed before Shah Jahan's time. Most historians reject these claims due to lack of evidence. But mystery keeps the legend alive. And perhaps that is why the Taj Mahal fascinates the world even today. Because it is more than just marble. It is emotion frozen in stone. Love. Power. Obsession. Sacrifice. Betrayal. Every wall carries a story. Every carving hides years of human labor. And every visitor who stands before it feels something impossible to explain. What makes the story even more shocking is how advanced the construction truly was. The foundation was built near a river using ancient engineering methods that helped stabilize the massive structure. Symmetry was planned with extraordinary precision. Even the calligraphy was designed cleverly, letters become larger higher up so they appear visually equal from below. Think about that. 400 years ago, without computers, without cranes, without modern machines. They created perfection. And maybe that's why people still cannot stop talking about the Taj Mahal. Not because it is old. But because it feels impossible. Yet behind this impossible beauty lies a hidden human truth. Great monuments are often built through great suffering. History celebrates emperors. Tourists take photographs. The world admires architecture. But the workers? Most vanished into silence. No statues. No glory. No names remembered by history. Only the monument survived. And perhaps that is the real hidden truth behind the Taj Mahal's construction. It was never just a love story. It was also a story about power. About obsession so strong that an emperor dedicated decades, fortunes, and countless lives toward creating something eternal. And in the end, even he could not escape time. Today, millions visit the Taj Mahal every year. Couples call it the greatest symbol of love ever built. But if those marble walls could speak, they would probably tell a far more complicated story. A story filled with tears, ambition, sacrifice, politics, and tragedy. A story far darker than the postcards. And maybe that is what makes the Taj Mahal unforgettable. Not just its beauty, but the human emotions buried deep inside its foundations. Before you leave, take one moment and imagine standing before the Taj Mahal at night. Moonlight touching the white marble. Silence in the air. The river flowing slowly nearby. And somewhere in history, an old emperor watches from a prison window. Still staring at the monument he sacrificed everything to build. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden historical mysteries, subscribe to the channel and join us for more untold stories from history's darkest secrets. Because sometimes, the truth behind famous monuments is far more shocking than the legends themselves.